At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Welcome to our show today. I'm your host, Doug Crow, with the Author Brand Show. You're going to want to take notes, especially on this guest today. It's an amazing show. I got to tell you, it's going to be fun. He used computational mathematics and software development capabilities to develop automations that boost internal productivity, drove client efficiencies, and improve, regulatory compliance. Most recently, our guest has founded CoorDisc, COORDISC, and they developed a technology called CDM. It's used to its potential is to completely reorder our financial system. Sounds like either an evil genius or something really cool. We'll talk more about that in a second. So his tagline, he's an algorithmist with a conscience. So we'd love to talk about ethics and algorithms. So welcome to the show today, Mr. Noah Healy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here, Doug.
You bet. You bet. We're going to get into your background and some specifics, but I want to ask you, what's the reason people should listen to us today? What's the big takeaway they can get today?
Well, we've all been watching the markets go crazy for decades now, and lots of people have said a lot of things about it. But I can tell you the fundamental reason why that's happening, and I can tell you how we could fix it.
How we can fix the volatility in our markets.
Absolutely. The issues at hand. Yeah, okay.
We'll come back to that. First, I want to talk about this, your nerd side, right? This algorithm stuff that you've so elegantly, fallen into with mathematics. What's your background? How'd you get started in this?
My algorithm journey is something that you pick up in mathematics as you progress through algebra and calculus and even geometry. You come up with new approaches. You come up with sort of a toolkit of things that you use to solve problems. But it really turbocharged when I got out of school and I got a job programming computers. In school, even in college, computers were mostly presented as tools for the entertainment industry. Which is still their primary use case. And that didn't interest me. I went into nuclear engineering, but I took a few algorithms classes here and there in the math department. And then I got out and got a job working for an entertainment company, but doing back office, software development, that kind of thing, data analytics, and learn the programming language, learn the theory behind programming languages, started learning about compilers and regular expressions and all that stuff, and never looked back.
Nice. So tell me about CDM. I know it's a commodities platform or something. Tell me how this thing works.
So the basic idea is that the marketplace is about matching up supply and demand, right? And we ultimately need people to engage in commerce with one another. And so the way the existing market does that, it says, okay, every deal has a buyer and a seller. And so we'll just split deals in half. We'll say, if you want to be a buyer, you can buy a buy-side deal. If you want to be a seller, you can buy a sell-side deal. And we'll just keep all these in these big lists. And when we can match up one of these buyer or seller deals, we'll just stick those together. And whoever happens to own them at the time will get it. What I say is that's wrong. Every deal has three components. It has the product or service that's being sold. It has the money that's being spent for it. It also has the information about what the fair market conditions are. And the current market gets at the information through this emergent process of people making offers, taking them back, and going back and forth. Well, that's what it used to do. Now, computers are just putting up these phantom offers in an attempt to beguile other computers to make mistakes that they can take advantage of. And so the emergent properties of our marketplaces have been destroyed essentially by gaining access to the internet. We now have markets, which were our formerly only real network style, peer-to-peer communication technology. We then introduced a much, much more powerful peer-to-peer communication technology, the one that the two of us are speaking on right now. And that technology essentially destroys the ability of the markets to do the job that they used to do. And so I found algorithms that allowed that information to be directly computed, directly valued. And so I can set up a market that has essentially three parts in it. People who
Mm-hmm.
want to sell and can look
Right.
at the deals that have been negotiated by themselves and others to the people that want to buy. And then the people who go in to negotiate those deals, who
Mm-hmm.
operate inside this quasi-mutual scenario where they get a partial share of the entire marketplace for aiding the marketplace in finding the right price. So intelligent, informed forecasters
Yeah.
make more money, skilled tradesmen, producers make more money, and the people who actually need to take delivery for these things ultimately will be paying less money for the same or more product.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire system is built around stabilizing the long-term economic conditions of the
Mm-hmm.
societies that are using it.
But those people that have the information, can't they still manipulate the market?
Not profitably. So they're being paid a insanely high rate of return for stabilizing the marketplace at its ideal location. If they attempt to manipulate or make any other kind of error into the
Mm-hmm.
marketplace, number one, anybody that's aware that they're doing that can simply put in countervailing information to fix the mistake and make the
Mm-hmm.
money that they would have made by doing the right thing in the first place. But secondarily, if by some miracle they actually manage to succeed and overwhelm the
Uh-huh.
crowd-funded information of everybody, then all they would succeed in doing is depressing actual interest in trade. If you go to the grocery store and the
Mm-hmm.
grocery store manager is like, I'm going to manipulate the apples market, I'm going to make apples $40 a pound. Well, unless it's your daughter's birthday and the only thing she'll eat is apple pie, you're not buying apples at $40 a pound. All he's doing is causing the apples not to sell, and by not
Okay.
selling apples he's not making any money. So the same thing happens here. The people involved in negotiating price make money because other people like those prices and trade at them, and so they need to
Okay.
find the prices along with the people that are going to be trading that
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to trade at.
Okay. I'm getting clear on it. So the example I would give is like the guy who talked about GameStop, right? Drove the stock, way up and then way down. That he, talked about it, and since he had a lot of influence, it
That
caused the price to go up way
that's
beyond its actual value, right?
that's a very public example of exactly what's
Mhm.
going on in our
Yeah.
markets thousands of times a day across hundreds of
Mhm.
stock issues that's normally
Yeah.
being taken care of in the algorithms. But yeah, that vulnerability of the existing marketplaces doesn't exist within this design. And so
Okay.
eliminating that vulnerability is what gets us the lower
Yeah.
cost of operation and the better economic outcomes.
Wow. Okay. So you're up against the biggest of all big brothers here. The financial, juggernaut of our world. That you talked about, it could totally improve the global financial system. What's your plan to do that? Mad genius. How do we get started?
Well, I've been struggling with the patent office primarily. So I actually have a petition out. They've accepted it twice. They've
Hmm.
confessed that there is no prior art. They claim that nobody else has ever thought of this before. They've
Okay.
confessed that it's better than everything else. So I've walked them through the mathematics. Like we're doing
Uh-huh.
the high level stuff, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the algorithm's in the patent, and we've gone
Hmm.
over it, and they've fessed up that this really does work better than the markets we've got.
Okay.
They won't give me the patent, and the reason that they've given is that if they gave me the patent, then we'd start using it, and I'd have a lot of power in the economy, and so that's not okay apparently, and so the patent can't be granted. Um, I
Okay.
have appealed that,
Yeah.
and last year they scheduled the patent appeal to be heard July of 2025. So
Okay.
I have a petition in the meanwhile up on change.org under CDM patent
Hmm.
to see if there anybody else would like to support the notion of having a better economy.
Yeah.
But that's my sort of big thing. The other thing is I am looking around the world for people who would like to launch smaller marketplaces, or if you've got the wherewithal, larger marketplaces, and license the
Sure.
technology there.
Right. Right. It's a funny argument, right? Because you control, you'd have too much power. Like,
Well, like
which patent doesn't do that?
imagine if you came up with a new form of transport that sort of worked like a car
Yeah.
but wasn't actually a car, and they said, okay, you can't have this because it's not better than a car, and you're like, well, it's like 50% more fuel efficient, and
Yeah.
you know
Right.
the you, it crashes less and people don't get hurt as
Yeah.
much when it crashes. And they're like, oh yeah, that's right, that's way better. But then why would people drive cars anymore? So you can't have the patent
Mhm.
because then your technology would wipe out this existing technology. It's like, well, I thought that was
That's
the
what
point.
technology does.
It's
It
right.
wipes, it always wipes out the. It's called disruption. It's the whole purpose of a patent is to make things better, faster, cheaper, easier, right? I mean,
Yeah. So the current
yeah.
objection is that it would work.
Mhm.
However, I will say that the people who my attorneys and I are speaking to have told us that they're actually under orders from people that they're not allowed to talk to us about, and we aren't allowed to talk to, and that they say that this was just the best they could do with what they were told. They don't agree
Mhm.
with or understand what
Yeah.
they were saying. So it's possible that people who gave the orders to make this happen said something that was this ridiculous or more ridiculous, or maybe they said something less ridiculous that the people I can talk to just didn't
Yeah.
understand. But this is the state of confusion that I'm presently in.
Yeah. What if you treat it not like a patentable product, but more like an open source kind of thing, where you gave it away?
Well, it is open source overseas. So there is code up on GitHub. I worked with a friend of
Okay.
mine to write up some code.
Hmm.
It's generally better for other people to write the code of mine that third parties will need to read.
Hmm.
I'm pretty good for first drafts and sort of making it work and
Yeah.
showing it off, but I'm better at writing code that computers will run and less good at writing code that people will read. So that's up. It's open source. It's under Creative Commons, I believe the
Hmm.
4.0 license.
Okay.
So that's currently globally available. And if the
Hmm.
US government decides to grant me the patent, then that will supersede it only in the territories of the US government. So
Yeah. Okay.
if somebody
Well, that's
wants to
good.
launch one of these in Switzerland or,
Hmm.
Central Africa or Cambodia or anywhere else in the world,
Yeah.
unless the U.S. government conquers you, I will never have any possibility of enforcing a patent against you.
Nice. Well, sounds to me like that would be a good opportunity to get, pick your favorite country and go set up an exchange and give it away, but you could actually control some part of it, not just the you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, setting up exchanges is not without its challenges, and so I'm largely looking to partner
Yeah.
with people who have the expertise
Hmm.
locally. There are a handful of people that are looking into trying to set those up. There's a
Yeah.
guy trying to set up a coffee exchange in East Africa, another guy trying to set up
Yeah.
coal in South Africa, and a
Okay.
third person who's trying to do a blockchain inspired use of the technology in
Right.
Singapore.
Uh-huh.
I've actually recently started talking to my local city government about their city market program and whether or not
Hmm.
they might not want to form some kind of local produce index to sort
Hmm.
of bridge the gap
Right.
between consumer and wholesale farmers marketing
Yeah.
for local communities, and that's another possibility if indeed anybody would be interested in something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I think of so many applications, right? I mean, you just focus on commodities, but you're making my brain explode with different areas you could go. Where there's,
Well, an
even
increasing
things that.
number sorry, yes. An
Go
increasing
ahead.
number of our services are commodified. The entire
Hmm.
process of containerization and creating these
Yeah.
standard containers that can go on ships and trains
Hmm.
and trucks means that there are actually a handful of indices that are used that pretty much decide how much it costs to move things from one part of a country to another part of a country, or from
Yeah.
one place on the planet to another place on the planet. Other services could increasingly go that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing particularly with AI, increasing computerization in the delivery of law and medicine.
Mm-hmm.
If you figure out how to commoditize a professional service, then it would be possible to use this sort of marketplace to set
Wow.
negotiated pricing.
That would be amazing in healthcare. It's only a few trillion dollars of stuff there. My gosh. Wow. So yeah, you've got a lot of opportunities here. And sounds like overseas would be faster without the patent restriction. You just get going with something. But yeah, you got to have some partners to set up an exchange, I guess. I like the coffee and tea one. It'd be good in Asia. Move a lot of tea over there. That'd be a good exchange. Silk Road.
Yeah, yeah. I did visit Beijing
Mm-hmm.
quite some time ago. Some cousins of mine were stationed there for work, and they invited me over, and I was like, took the
Mm-hmm.
chance.
Yeah.
And I am not actually much of a tea drinker, but they broke me on it because
Yeah.
they won't serve you cold water there. The drinking water
Mm-hmm.
system when I was there, and I haven't heard any different since then, didn't deliver potable water, and so boiling water or hot water was seen as polite, in spite of the fact that everybody actually served water that was imported out of
Yeah.
scuttlebutts.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so in the choice between drinking hot tea and hot water, I decided that hot tea was the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, hot water. Nice. Beautiful. So what's next? What would be the biggest benefit to you to get this platform, to get your algorithm out there? What would be the biggest win for you in the next few months?
Well, the biggest win would be one of these partners, coming through and getting the ducks in the row to actually set things up, or finding
Mm-hmm.
some new partner that was capable of doing that with alacrity. Uh, that's what I spend my time, searching the world for and talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my. It's unfortunately something that I can't influence particularly directly, um,
Yeah.
but it's sort of this building of a team process,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you don't get the only vote in. The other team members have to decide that they also want to come to the table.
Right. Right. So if you're looking for additional, partners or advocates, whatnot, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, the quickest, easy way to get to me is my email address, noahphealy@yahoo.com. You can connect me on LinkedIn. I'm on Noah Healy there. If you'd like to learn more about this stuff, the white paper is online. You can find it
Mm-hmm.
on my website, Core Disk. I also have a podcast called The Fourth Age, The AI
Mm-hmm.
Revolution, where I talk about AI and its impacts on society with the
Mm-hmm.
former CTO of Reddit, Marty Weiner, and also some other people. And like I said, there's the patent, or the patent
Yeah.
petition, which anybody that wants to sign that, um, if I got a few tens of thousands of signatures on that in the next few months, that would probably be game changing as well.
Great. We'll help with that right now. We'll make a link to that petition right below the show notes here in the show, folks. Obviously, contact Noah if you've got an interest in changing the world. And if you want to make a difference right now, click below. You'll see the link to a petition. Just click on that and sign it. And don't forget to share it with at least 2 other people and get this thing done, because it sounds like there's no downside to, you know, a more honest market of integrity, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the basic problem that we're having with
Mm-hmm.
with AI as well.
Yeah.
Our existing cultural and political and social and economic systems are based on the
Mm-hmm.
notion that everybody you're communicating with is a person, and that
Yeah. Right.
stopped being true like 40 years ago. And as the ChatGPT O just came out, Scarlett Johansson, I saw a story that she was
Yeah.
suing because
Yeah.
They wanted to recreate the movie Her. She turned him down because it's creepy as hell. They found
Mm-hmm.
somebody to imitate her voice and then
Yeah.
said, "Oh, we're not imitating you. We're imitating somebody imitating you. We'll see
Mm-hmm.
how the
Yeah.
courts feel about that."
Yeah.
But yeah.
They withdrew it. They're not gonna have to go to court. They said that
Oh,
sorry. They're gonna change it, so they're gonna avoid
okay.
the legal part. I read that this morning. Yeah.
That's nice. But
Yeah.
yeah, what if um, you know Scarlett Johansson owes no small part of her career to her
Mm-hmm.
excellent skills at presenting herself
Right.
and appropriately to those things, and that's
Mm-hmm.
obviously an extremely rare quality among people. But
Right.
what if you know P or Q or R or S version comes out and it can produce 50 or 150 or 650 billion things that look like human beings that can present themselves with greater skill and style than Scarlett Johansson can, and the world falls apart at the seams at that point. It's not much of a
Yeah.
tragedy for me that maybe some Hollywood actress can't command millions of dollars anymore, but if
Eh,
none
We're
of
all
us can
connected.
right, if none of us can communicate with each other because there's robots in the way everywhere we go,
Mm-hmm.
we're already
Yes. This
looking
is
at
a. Keep going. This is good. Keep
yes,
going.
we're already looking at what that's doing to our economy, because that's already how our economy has been working since
Yeah.
the 80s.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to come into more and more of our lives, and unless we
Right.
redesign our systems
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to pay for
Yeah.
honesty, integrity, we're not going
Yeah,
to get it.
economically, it's a conundrum because in some ways I can see the long term version of democratizing information to where even anybody can get have a genius in their pocket, right, to help them with whatever they need to do. There's advantages there. The deep fake stuff, that's very scary because most people, I think, at least I can still tell, but that's not going to last very long. It's going to get I was really good, I'm sure. So it's an interesting social socio-economical discussion about because you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? We can't regulate, pause. We can't do this thing. So we've got to somehow navigate this thing. I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah. I mean, the only practical way I could see for us to crawl back down the technology
Mm,
stack would be a dark age, some kind of
mm,
if society collapsed enough that we couldn't actually make computer chips, and everybody
yeah,
that knew the math, died and didn't have any to pass the knowledge on to, and the electricity stops flowing, so you can't read any of the computer files, then
yeah,
that's over. But
right.
I'm not in favor. That
You know,
this is this is real. Computational math is just sitting there
mm-hmm,
at the heart of
yep,
mathematics. Has been forever. Um,
mm-hmm,
it's powerful, and so what we need to figure out how to do. This is every superhero movie, every fantasy story,
right,
that with Harry Potter, it's
mm-hmm,
about channeling your power responsibly, right?
yeah,
We've
right,
basically been granted access to genies, and we just need to stop wishing for, the worst possible thing in the universe, and then it'll be better.
yeah, yeah. Our limbic brain always looks towards danger because we're designed to, fight or flight stuff. So we're always going to be looking for that stuff. Hopefully, that'll be enough to, detect it and have the good people win. But we'll see. We
That
both talked to enough people. There's many scenarios, everything, everywhere, all at once on this. We'll see what happens, I guess.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna keep playing the game for a while, and like I said, I can solve the problem of having an economy, and
Yeah,
hopefully that'll keep things bouncing along long enough for
yeah.
us to get to the next problem.
That's a big one. I wish you luck on that. And please, folks, click below, sign that petition. And if you have any advice or advocacy for Noah, reach out to him. Noah, thanks so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here. This was great.
You bet.